Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Wednesday, November 16th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you are somebody that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple quick clarifications. Number one, the price you see over here will be changing around, and then the candlestick you see will also be changing around. That is because the market is still open for a small amount of time, but I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one here, AMD, did this one on yesterday's watch list, and the trend continues, broke up through this area of resistance, which is where the first update comes into play. And this is just based on a foundational rule in charting, which states when levels of resistance are broken and closed above, you want to see the MACD as support. So going into the day, 75.25 was that area of resistance, but now that the price is up above it, you'd expect it to act as support, and that's exactly what happened here. I mean, a classic example, you could put this right into a textbook. Price pulled back, found some support right at that level, and is now going sideways. So yeah, depending on perspective, meaning if you're a day trader and you bought right there and your plan was to buy and sell within 10 minutes, from that angle, yeah, the chart's not looking very good. But assuming you care about just the bigger picture point of view, everything is perfectly fine, even with this pullback, even with that in mind. So if I just draw, there is this little downwards channel here. Well, what was going on before the downwards channel? You had that nice upward move there. In other words, you still have a bull flag pattern. So assuming you do care about the big picture point of view, everything is still perfectly fine. As far as levels of resistance are concerned, key level now to watch moving forward, going to be right up there around 78.75. Next one, TENX, for you penny stock players out there. Very, very big volume, nice movement on the day, and got ourselves a nice pattern here. And when you have well-defined patterns, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can definitely produce some very dynamic movements because a lot of people are watching the same exact thing and wondering the same exact thing. So top part of this pattern, key breakout point right there at the 18-cent mark as far as the bottom of the pattern is concerned, right there at this trend line. So let me change that to green to represent more so the bullish dynamic of the support. And maybe to make this just easier to see, let's make it all one color. So we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big momentum move right there. Then to make this that much more visual, let's put the golf hole down here. And what we have is a bull pennant pattern. So while there are no guarantees, as I was saying, when you have a lot of people watching, is it valid? Is it rational to think that if the price comes up here to 18 cents and can get the break up through that level, that break could create upside buying pressure? That's certainly a valid outcome. Next one, SYTA, another penny stock. A bit of a different set of circumstances, though, because this one's got a deeper pullback. But the interesting part is, yeah, this thing did have a big pullback. And during that whole part, there was a big question floating around out there, a very valid question. Is this the beginning of the end? Is this one of these penny stocks that gaps up, and then that's just going to crash right back to where it started? And no, it didn't. The latter part of the day, the price did at least start to go sideways. Now, let me be very clear, and I wish I could say trading was this easy. Just because the price started to go sideways does not mean that for sure this is the bottom and that for sure some sort of upwards movement is going to come. My point here is it at least becomes a valid and plausible assumption to think, okay, maybe just maybe this thing has finally leveled off, and maybe this thing is getting ready to head back upwards. So it becomes a whole lot more valid and reasonable now that the price has at least started to go sideways. But if you do like to play pullbacks, and yeah, right there at that, oh, look at that, 18 cents. So 18 cents on the previous one was the breakout point. On this one is going to be that pullback point right there where the price never hit it exactly, but definitely got very close to that, which is just based on that principle again. When levels of resistance are broken, which it was right there, they tend to act as support, which is exactly what happened right there. So keep an eye on that overall dynamic. If you like to play penny stocks, if you like to play those that have a little bit bigger of a deeper pullback, but are now starting to show signs of potential bottom, then this is certainly an interesting scenario. Next one, PEGY, and this is again under that same premise, which is why I wanted to put it where I did, where yeah, you got a big move, yeah, you got a pullback, but it's not like it completely crashed. You did start to get some sideways movement. So like I said, does not guarantee that this is the bottom, but it becomes a lot more reasonable at this point in time. So let's map out a couple of these key levels. Key level of support, which has now made itself very apparent right there at that big old round number of $3. You can see a couple times here the price is held. And then as far as an area that I would use as, of course not a guaranteed point, but a confirmation point that, okay, maybe life is coming back into things, is keeping an eye on that pink line there, the 200 period moving average, which you can see now twice has served as a resistance point. So if the price can break up through there, stay above it, especially if this is all happening on higher volume, then it becomes that much more reasonable to think that, okay, maybe this is the start of a bigger breakout back to the upside and that this pullback and consolidation is officially over. So really like this one for the simple fact of a couple very, very straightforward levels, which again can start to create some of those self-fulfilling prophecies. Next one here, AMC, and overall good movement here on this one as it was sort of all over the place, but within the bigger picture of things, and this will mean more to those of you that watched yesterday's video, bigger picture meaning relative to that trend line right there, it's holding strong. Got the breakout, came back down, classic example of, again, this resistance, then behaving as support, and then as I speak, the price is heading back upwards. So overall, the chart did nothing wrong. Sure, it didn't go straight up, but sorry to break it to you, nothing can go straight up. Broke out, came back down, found support, and is now working its way back upwards, which I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of that line there as it served its purpose. I'm going to keep this line out here just out of curiosity, see if the price can continue to stay up above 725, but not totally relevant right now. But the new levels that I am now, like I said, curious about moving forward, going to be right up there at the $8.25 mark, which give or take presented some problems back here on Monday and then presented that problem right there. But overall, like I said, big picture wise, the chart has done nothing wrong. Didn't put in new highs, but it, like I said, a stock or whatever you're trading does not have to put in a new high every single day in order to still be considered healthy. So overall, AMC continues to grind higher with those higher bases, and that's what it's all about. Real quickly, wanted to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online training that I'm offering here very soon. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen, you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to help build consistency as a trader, then certainly get signed up for the free training. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there to sign up to get registered for it. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then certainly get signed up for this free live training. Next one, SNES, and last time I saw this, it didn't look like this at all, but on the same token, that is why I, like I said at the beginning of the video, like to do these when the market's still open, because sometimes you can capture really crazy movement, and here we have that. Last 30 minutes, wow, this thing is escalating pretty quickly to the downside, but there's still some interesting dynamics here, because if I draw this previous area of resistance, which hopefully you're now saying, yes, Glenn, we know that resistances tend to turn into support, you have a very interesting dynamic down here around 17 cents for a couple reasons. As I just pointed out, it was this former breakout point, but you also have a couple of these very well-known moving averages hanging around this area, that purple line being the 50-period moving average, pink line being the 200-period moving average. So it's kind of just like a clump of supports down around that area. Once more, does that mean that, it's for sure going to bounce off that area? There are no for sure's, no guarantees. But does it start to become more reasonable to think that if this pullback can get just a little bit more worse, that there could be some sort of, snap back to the upside? And when I say snap back, I don't mean going all the way up to those highs. But from a trading standpoint, even if it went up half of that, a quarter of that, I mean, that still could potentially be a very nice trade, especially when you look at it from a risk-reward standpoint and what was being risked in the first hand, which, on that note, if you don't know what a stop loss is, if you don't honor stop losses, if you think they're stupid, then yeah, these are certainly, you shouldn't be trading in the first place. But this sort of situation, when you do things right, you can structure yourself a very nice risk-reward scenario. Next, BILI, and this is one of these where, maybe I could have put it at a different spot, but you get the idea, so I won't spend too much time with it. But we have another one of these potential self-fulfilling prophecies via a pattern that you got to think a lot of people are watching. Top part of the pattern breakout point at 1685. And then as far as the bottom part of the pattern is concerned, I don't know why I drew that line out there so long, but you get the idea. Let me change that to green. It's going to drive me nuts to see those lines so unnecessarily long, but it is what it is. So again, from a pattern perspective, we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the move up like that. Let's put our golf ball down here. We have ourselves another bull pennant pattern. I suppose the biggest difference here is just this is going to be a higher price stock. So if you prefer to play stocks not down below $1, penny stocks, you like to play stocks a bit more quote unquote expensive, well then here you go. You have a bull pennant on BILI. Next one, TME, same general idea here. And just a lot of bull pennants out there, but this one does offer a little bit of a lower price point, but still up above the dollar mark. So we have our key breakout point right there, and I'm going to just go through this relatively quickly as I repeat my mistakes and continually sit here. This one's definitely this one's different in the sense of it's much more of a tighter range right there, which makes it, same general idea. It is a bull pennant, but you just have a much tighter profile here, which, you could be great or bad depending on, what your sort of personal risk tolerance is, how you prefer to play things. So I'm not saying that in a bad or good way. We're all different. But resistance, support, upwards move here, golf hole down there. Have yourselves another bull pennant that, like I said, is up above $1, but not even at $10. Next, TSLA Tesla. And this one started off the day very, very nicely. Actually built a nice pennant pattern here, but just goes to show, just because there's a pennant, no guarantees. It ultimately failed and back down it went. Now, the interesting point about the failure is, look right where it went down to, and this will mean more to those of you that watched yesterday's video, but talked about that purple line there, 50-period moving average. You can see today spent quite a bit of time bouncing off that level. So moving forward, and as somebody that pays attention to Tesla a lot, trades it quite a bit, I'm going to be very curious about, can the price hold above that 50-period moving average? And if it cannot, then in my mind seems more than reasonable that the price at minimum heads down to that trend line right there, which throws out the question, okay, what happens then? Because that could be a significantly much bigger break, because if the price fails there, then, it could very realistically now head down to, that 185 mark. So those would be the main areas of support. In terms of areas of resistance, still have this area right here, we'll call it the 197.50 mark, which again, to be fair, was broken earlier on, but ultimately failed. So that's still going to be considered an area of resistance. But if the price can break up, back up through there, then right up there at $200.50 will be the next key battleground. Next, TQQQ, which is the most popular ETF out there, allows you to take advantage of the NASDAQ at a much lower price point. So if you think that the NASDAQ is going to rise, then this one will also rise. And I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of these lines here, because I want to take more of a KISS approach, keep it simple, stupid. And really at the end of the day, yeah, the price has had some pretty big swings, but when you stop and take a step back and ask yourself, well, where have the lows have been? Well, let's look at the low today. Compare that with the low yesterday. Compare that to these lows. Compare that to that low. And even down here, it's even lower. I think that's behind my ugly mug. But point here being is that from the big picture perspective, you still do have these higher lows being put into play. And until one of these movements down here, breaks down below, a previous set of lows. So on that note, I will put in the 22 mark, because in my mind, 22 becomes relatively significant, because if the price were to break down below there, not only is it breaking down below these lows here, but it would also be putting the price down below that 50-period moving average purple line, which again does not mean that everything is destroyed and it's back to the lows we go. I'm not saying that, but that would be the first, kind of kink in the armor that would suggest that, okay, maybe the bears are starting to make a comeback and maybe the bulls are starting to lose some of their momentum right now. But as of now, yeah, it pulled back today, but the price continues to put in those higher bases, which is what matters most. And then you got to think a lot of people are drawing that trend line right there. So from a potential self-fulfilling prophecy angle of things, like I said, that line, you got to think a lot of people are probably watching it. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here, then I want you to get signed up for the free training. It'll be, like I said, very soon, Thursday, November 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy these, hit that like button, leave a comment. Tell me what you traded today. Tell me what you're watching tomorrow. But those two things help out with the channel, and I really do appreciate it. So thanks for watching. Get signed up, hit that like button, leave a comment down below.